What is up, everybody? And welcome back to a series that might eventually be the death of me. We have made it to part 18 of A Beggar's Journey. If you had told me when I started this that this documentary was going to be this long, I would have thought that you was crazier than my addiction to fat ass Latinas, but here we are. And not only that, but we are also on the road to 20k subscribers. So as always, I want to thank every single one of you for allowing me to come this far with this documentary. This has been quite a crazy road we've been going down, filled with scamming, lying, empty promises, addiction, bankruptcy, but that's to be expected, and a whole lot of begging. But there's still plenty to talk about, and much more of the story to cover. So without wasting any more of your time, let's dive right back into the lore of DarkSydePhil. So on December 18, 2020, DSP was informed that an ex-sponsor of his streams, OPCs, had officially gone out of business.
And I'm just giving this up to OPC. Rest in peace, OPC. That's the gaming share company that fucked me over 3 years ago. Gave me a sponsorship, then took it away after I advertised their company because they're shitheads. So fuck them. They went out of business because they used shitty Chinese parts, and because of the Trump tariffs raising the price of Chinese goods, they completely went out of business. And that's karma for fucking me over.
If you don't remember who OPCs was, they were a company that sold gaming chairs made from cheap ass parts from China and resold them for prices that weren't exactly worth the quality they were supplying. So you can get the idea that the people behind this company weren't exactly those who put the consumer's trust before the product. And having expert level marketing decisions, these dumbasses thought it would be a great idea to have one of its first sponsorship opportunities be thrown to DarkSydePhil. Because who better to represent your shady company than one of the biggest bullshitters on the internet? Now, despite lacking any form of integrity and foresight when choosing business partners, they at least had enough sense to cut off all ties with DSP as soon as they were told by a good majority of people about the kind of guy Phil really is. And like I said in previous episodes, it really doesn't take a lot of research to come to that kind of conclusion. So after being informed by OPCs themselves that their short-lived partnership was officially over, Phil does the one thing Phil does best and blames it all on his detractors.
As usual, most of the negative shit that ends up going on these days in particular has nothing to do with me at all, okay? So let's talk, because I want to tell you the full story of how I basically obtained sponsorship via the positivity of my recent streams on Twitch, people seeing me on Twitch, having a good audience and liking what I do and saying, man, we'd like Phil to maybe, sponsor our product, offering it to me. And then all of a sudden, because of the actions of trolls, who, number one, I have no control over, and number two, constantly slander me and make shit up, the sponsorship is now gone, okay?
So now that the company had fallen under, DSP was more than ecstatic to revel in the satisfaction of having the company who fucked them over, in his words, bite the dust.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you might be wondering, why the hell is Phil bringing this up today? I'll tell you why. Because yesterday, out of nowhere, I got tweeted, well, not tweeted, but yeah, I did get tweeted by OPC on Twitter. And I'm like, what the hell? I haven't heard from these guys literally in 3 years since they screwed me over. Why would they be tweeting me? And it was just like K, huh? The letter K and a question mark. So I clicked on it, and it still said opc.com, like that was their website, was still in the profile description, but it said, this account is now owned by this other person. And I clicked on it, and it says this person's like a social media developer or something. And I'm like, wait a minute. It looks to me like they're out of business. Okay? So I click on the link to go to the website, and the website has a big post on it. Okay? And it says, oh, we're sorry to announce this, but we have to go out of business because of Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump put up unfair trade tariffs. We can no longer produce our chairs for the price that we're doing it. Our goal when we opened OPC was to create the highest quality but lowest price chair available. And sadly, we just can't do that anymore because Donald Trump's trade tariffs made the cost of the goods that we imported to build our chairs way too expensive. But they raised by over 25%. So because of that, there's no way we can do this anymore, and we're going out of business. We're sorry, but it's all Trump's fault. Okay? So I read this, and I'm like, this is hilarious, because are you guys aware of what Trump's trade tariffs were? China. Chinese goods. What he did is he said Chinese goods are very low quality. China gets way too much business from the United States, so I'm going to put a tariff on that to make them more expensive. So hopefully people will buy higher quality products from other places, because it's not fair that we're getting low quality crap from them. So when they say, oh, we went out of business because of Trump tariffs, you know what they're basically saying? We were trying to build low quality chairs and charge you top dollar for them. So we were scamming you. We were selling you junk for top dollar, pretending like this was some kind of a high quality gamer chair, but it was actually a piece of shit. And we were teaming up with streamers and content creators so you would buy that low quality piece of shit for a high price so we could make out and make tons of money. But because Trump put these tariffs in place to stop crappy products from coming in at low cost, we can't run our scam anymore. So we're going out of business. That's just fucking hilarious to me. Seriously, like, wow. And I'm sorry, like, there's very few times in my life where I've called upon something that I would say karma. That's dead on exactly what you would call karma. A company that's unprofessional, a company that screwed me over, and then they got screwed for being scammers. Damn. And some people are like, wow, you're petty. Petty? No. You got to understand something, okay? I didn't seek these guys out. They sought me out. They created drama for the haters to celebrate. They created drama because they were unprofessional. They fucked with my content. That was their fault for not being professional. They were unprofessional, scamming idiots. And they fucked me over for like a couple days. It's all anyone talked about. I had people coming in here spamming my streams about OP seats and shit. This is 100% karmic justice. This company got exactly what they fucking deserved. They were a bunch of assholes who were just trying to rip people off and make money on low quality crap. Okay? Now, in the meantime, by the way, there was another company that wanted to do a chair sponsorship with me. Okay? And that company did send me a chair. All right? And guess what? That chair is a piece of crap. That company also went out of business, by the way, because they also were just a reseller. They weren't even a manufacturer. So it was another company that essentially was trying to screw people over. The chair that they sent me worked. I would argue the chair worked for about 6 to 8 months. And then it stopped staying at the height it's supposed to be at. The hydraulic pump or whatever it is in it that's supposed to elevate or lower the seat broke. And if you can pump it up, and then it just deflates randomly out of nowhere at any time. The seat is also incredibly uncomfortable. It is. I'll be honest with you. It looks nice, but when you sit in it, you're like, it doesn't really feel like it's got these fake little pillows that are supposed to give you like lumbar support. They don't. Yeah, it's shitty. It's a shit chair. And by the way, made in China. All these gamer chairs are a complete scam.
It's pretty funny to see that Phil seems to care more about his so-called justice, rather than the fact that he was promoting the scam. If it wasn't for the detractor community making their voices heard on Twitter, then Phil would have kept pushing these low quality chairs onto his unsuspecting viewers. And believe it or not, but this isn't the only time in this video where we would see Phil take pleasure in the shortcomings of someone else. So in the month of December, we witnessed one of the worst launches in gaming history, which was Cyberpunk 2077. The game had been extremely hyped up for years, as CD Projekt Red displayed trailer after trailer, showcasing the potential this game had to offer. This was showing promises of being a game that was going to be talked about for generations. But then, delays started hitting, and the further the release date kept getting pushed back, the more fans began to be concerned about whether or not this game was going to be released in good condition. But the copium was still there. People thought that maybe they were taking the extra time to hash out all of the potential issues this game could possibly have. Then maybe Cyberpunk could have a perfect release date. I mean, it had Keanu Reeves. There was no way they could fuck this game up. But oh boy, the state that this game released in was absolutely criminal. I mean, you all saw it. The game was filled to the brim with bugs and glitches. Plus, all of the cool features the developers promised for this title were under-delivered. Red Dead Redemption 2 blew this game out of the water when it came to the level of detail both games presented. This game was pretty much Skyrim, but set way further into the future. And to make matters worse, the console release was an absolute dumpster fire as well. Players had to deal with constant crashes, frame rate drops, textures not loading in properly, and on top of that, they had to deal with everything else the PC players were suffering from at the same time. It was so bad that Sony themselves had to allow players the option for a refund, since a good majority of the player base had felt like they'd been scammed. Now DSP, sticking true to his character, saw the opportunity to get his money back from purchasing the game, and immediately cashed in on the refund, despite not finishing the game, and despite the fact that there were still people in his audience who still had interest in seeing him play the game all the way through.
Alright everybody, I'm back, I'm ready to start, but I've made a decision. I've made a critical decision. Alright? You guys ready? Based on your feedback, alright, and based on my experience and everything that's been going on, here's what we're going to do. I have requested a I was during this break, I was like, you know what? People aren't really digging the playthrough. They feel the game with all its bugs and everything is unfinished. Okay? So I requested a refund. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to play the game today. Alright? Do a major stream of it. And then we're going to see what happens. I don't know, you know, how long it will take for them to refund the game for me or whatever. Alright? So let's play the game today. Alright? And they're eventually going to rescind my rights to the license. You know, they're going to say at some point, you don't have the right to play this game anymore. Okay? So what I'll do is we'll play it as long as we can, and when they rescind the license, that's when we'll suspend the playthrough. Then I gotta make a choice about in the future, alright, do I want to buy it again in a month? Do I want to buy it again in 2 months? Do I want to wait for the PlayStation 5 version if and when that ever comes out? Okay? So I gotta make this decision when I want to actually get it again. Okay? So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna play it today. We're still gonna do the mainstream today. Alright? And then, okay, I'd rather just focus on something that you guys want to see. And you guys are outright telling me, pretty much for the most part, you're not enjoying the Cyberpunk streams. The game is a piece of broken shit. And you'd rather wait for me to see the finished game to play it again. That's what you... What's the point of playing it? Because this will be our last hurrah session. This will be our last hurrah to Cyberpunk. Until, you know, they fix it. So, you know, people are saying it's not fair that I'm playing the game before it's done. It's like, well, they shouldn't have sold it then, you know. So we'll play it today and we'll see what happens, all right? But at least then, Phil the Snatch Chair says, what about those who tipped you to continue your Cyberpunk playthrough? That didn't happen. That didn't happen. Okay. Thanks for the money, dummy.
Phil's intentions with this decision is pretty obvious to see. While he does hate playing Cyberpunk, as Phil seems to hate all games in general, what it really comes down to is that Phil wants to pocket the money he's made from streaming the game, and the money from the refund. The fact that he would still stream the game regardless of putting in the refund shows how greedy he truly is. He is trying to milk every single cent he can manage from the game. But this didn't mean much as he continued to play Cyberpunk anyway. And surprisingly, Cyberpunk 2077 was able to make a major comeback, as CD Projekt Red made numerous updates to fix everything that was wrong with the game. Not only that, the DLC that came out fairly recently seems to have performed pretty well. So even though the release of Cyberpunk was beyond disastrous at launch, they were able to improve their quality over time. Now, has DSP managed to make any sort of progression similar to this in recent years? Yeah, not really. But moving on. The month of December 2020 wasn't really all that interesting, as it was mostly just Phil crying and complaining about the rampant chargebacks that were happening on his PayPal account. So even though he was pretty much forcing his fans to go through this whole convoluted ass setup just to send in tips, he was still going through a ton of chargebacks. It really didn't make any sense once you take a second to analyze what he's saying. He's told people that he refunds any tips that weren't sent with a registered PayPal account, so you would think that this would negate any future chargebacks.
Guess what? Wrong.
So now the story has to change again. It has to develop into something more extreme and nonsensical. Instead of this being a dedicated group of people who were refunding money with the sole intention of fucking up Phil's finances, it was now just one guy who is so obsessed with trolling him that he's bought a whole bunch of credit cards just to charge back the money that he sent them. And DSP has even claimed that he lost up to $7,000 thanks to these chargebacks.
If you want to support the stream and you're going to tip me, all right, I strongly recommend you take a few extra minutes and create a verified PayPal account. Allow me to explain why. In the last few months, since I would say it started in the summer, but really it got heavily a problem in September, okay? I have received, at this point, if I actually do the math, I believe I want to say it's between 5. These are tips where someone is using a stolen credit card number to send me funds via a stream, just for later on for those funds to be charged back. Which means that basically the person realized, oh my god, someone stole my credit card. They notified their credit card company, and they get their money back. Problem is, that completely screws me over. Not only do I lose the funds from that tip, sometimes there's fees involved, sometimes my PayPal account gets penalized, even though there's no way for me to actually know if someone's legit or if someone is using a stolen credit card. I mean, how the frick would I know that, right? So it's kind of a messed up system. It's a system that all streamers suffer with. We all just kind of have to put up with that. Right? Nothing you can do. There's no protections against that right now. I wish there were. I wish there was a way to say, oh, don't accept an anonymous credit card checkout.
So now we're moving on to the year 2021. And we will come to find that this will be a pretty eventful year in terms of the lore for DSP gaming. So on January 6, 2021, Twitch put out an official statement on their Twitter that they were removing Gutex as the face of their PogChamp emote based on his comments that were supporting the riots that were going on at Capitol Hill at the time. Now, whether or not you agree with the things he was saying is really up to you. I'm definitely not trying to get into any political debates. I mean, who am I? Vosh? Nah. But a good majority of people weren't too happy with this idea, as the PogChamp emote was a beloved staple. So Twitch goes on to state that despite removing Gutex, they were going to keep the PogChamp emote alive by using a new face every 24 hours. DSP responded to that tweet with this one. Sounds good. Want to really piss him off? Use this for the PogChamp moving forward. Gutex hates my guts, and everyone knows who I am, for the wrong reasons, but who's counting? Lol. Now I don't exactly know when the beef between Gutex and DSP started, but seeing that Gutex has a history in the FGC community, and is pretty good friends with Mike Ross, I think it's pretty safe to say that that's where it all started. And since Phil can't let go of a grudge to literally save his life, just like Pro Jared, OPC and Machinima before him, he goes on his pre-stream the next day to further celebrate the downfall of another person who had it out for him.
The big thing that just happened on Twitch, like literally half an hour ago, as I was getting out of the shower, this happened. Twitch has banned the PogChamp emote. It doesn't exist anymore. If you type in the Pog, it's a global emote. It used to be the emote of all people, Gutex from the fighting game community, making his classic face for the camera, or sorry, or whatever it is, right? So they removed it. Now, personally, I don't know anything about this fucking guy anymore. I don't pay attention to the fighting game community. You guys know that. I have nothing to do with that shit anymore. But Gutex always had a bug up his ass about me. Him and Mike Ross. Like, if you remember, back in the day when Street Fighter was blowing up, Street Fighter 4, so we're talking over 10 years ago, Street Fighter 4 was blowing up. And I, at the time, was becoming an established YouTuber. People were coming to me to watch me do not only Street Fighter footage of Street Fighter 4, but many other things, okay? Many other, all the different variety of games and stuff that I used to play. I didn't know who Mike Ross and Gutex were at the time. Like, I had no clue who the fuck they were because I didn't watch other content creators' footage. And I think a few times in videos, people asked me what I thought about them. I was like, I don't know who the fuck they are. I don't know what you're talking about. Now, I don't know if they took that as, like, a personal insult or some shit. Because I don't know who you are and I don't like your content. I guess they basically hate me for some reason. Like, I remember there were interviews where people would ask them at tournaments, what do you think about DarkSydePhil? And they'd be like, DarkSydePhil, oh, that fucking hack, I don't know who the fuck that guy is and shit. And I was like, people would come to me and show me that footage and be like, why are they talking about you like that? And I'm like, I don't know. I seriously know nothing about these fucking guys at all. I don't know why they don't like me years ago, whenever. And apparently they just didn't like me. Whenever people asked them about me, they just blew it off, or they would say something negative about me. I don't know. Now, I mean, seriously, like, I haven't dealt with these guys in a million years. I think the one interaction I ever had with, like, Mike Ross was that he was at a Street Fighter 4 tournament, and he was, like, doing really well. My friend had to play him in tournament, and I think my friend lost to him. But then later on, there was a tournament online, and my friend beat him or something. I don't even know. Yeah, who cares, right? Like, I have zero interactions with these guys. Yet, every once in a while, it would be like, especially Gutex, like, he would just, out of nowhere, say something negative about me on the internet, and people would tell me, did you hear what Gutex said about you or whatever? And I'd be like, why, who, what? What are you talking about? Right? Like, I don't understand why people love to bring me up and shit. They always have my name in their mouths and stuff. When I don't even know who the fuck these people are or why they talk about me. Okay? So really, not many interactions besides the negative ones that they talk shit about me, and I'm sure at some point I probably talk shit back to them. I have no idea because I don't remember. So then I want to say it was 2-3 years ago. Was it? It was what? I can't remember. What was the year when Ninja played Fortnite with Drake? Whatever year that was. I don't remember what year that was. Who fucking knows? Because it's all pointless anyway, right? Whenever it was that Ninja played Fortnite with Drake, it was like the hottest thing all on social media. All anyone would talk about, the biggest Twitch stream ever. Drake streamed with a streamer, Ninja, and that solidified Ninja as the top streamer on Twitch because he streamed with Drake the rapper. Okay, and everyone's freaking out about this. So this happened, and of course people coming onto my streams talking about it, asking me about it. What are my opinions? So I tweeted out about it that day, and I was like, I can't remember exactly what I said. All I remember is basically saying something to the effect of, I don't understand why people think this is such a big deal that, like, people are actually like, oh, we made it now because gaming has crossed over into music and now this is going to get gaming mainstream appeal and stuff like that. All right. And basically people shat all over me for it. People shat all over me at the time for it. Oh, Phil, you're just an old but crotchety geezer. You crusty old fuck. Why would you be criticizing that happening or whatever? Okay, and basically shitting all over me, saying I'm out of touch, you don't understand. Now here we are, what is it, 2-3 years later? Did gaming explode because Ninja fucking streamed with Drake? No, here's what happened. Fortnite became a kid's game. All little kids saw that, thought, oh, I want to play it. Fortnite became a little kiddies game, right? With microtransactions to buy fucking stupid costumes and shit. You tell me anyone outside of a competitive community or streamers trying to make money off of viewers who were little kids, tell me anyone who cares about fucking Fortnite, right? It's the biggest game, and mainstream gamers don't care about it. So it didn't do anything. It didn't blow games up or anything like that at all. It had absolutely zero impact, zero, on the gaming community. I was right. I was like, you're all hyped for absolutely nothing. Nothing's going on of any importance here. This is just a fucking marketing stunt. I don't know how you're so dumb to not figure that out. But the reason I bring this up is because when all this was happening and everyone was busy shitting at me, guess who was at the front of the line? Gutex. He came to shit on me. Now, keep in mind, I haven't talked about this guy in years, hadn't fucking known anything about this guy in years. Comes onto my Twitter and he's like, you know, shitting on me, saying that basically, you know, I'm an idiot or whatever, and I'm jealous. I don't know. To be honest, it's also stupid because I don't pay attention to this shit. These idiots just come and they invoke my name when they feel like there's no reason for people to shit on me for things I say on my own Twitter, because number one, I don't have a giant following. Number two, most people don't care what I say. I have a small group of dedicated fans who do care what I say, and outside of that, no one gives a shit. So why the fuck, number one, why is Gutex following what I'm saying on Twitter? Why is he coming to my Twitter out of years of never even speaking of the guy, knowing nothing about him, to come shit on me publicly, right? So at the time, I'm not even kidding, like, I got so many people shitting on me for this, I just deleted the fucking tweet. I had enough. Like, it's one thing to say something and you think, oh, well, my followers will understand what I'm coming from. It's another thing to have, like, you know, because Gutex fucking shits on you on Twitter for it. I get like 10,000 fucking people now who are coming and shitting on my Twitter and basically making my Twitter unusable for a day because of the negativity directed at it. Seriously, of all the things in my life that I worry about, the last thing I think about or worry about is fucking Gutex. Like, who the fuck cares about that guy? Who cares? He's the least important thing on my entire laundry list of insignificant things on planet Earth in my life. You've probably got, like, you know, the air particles in India, you know, the amoeba that lives at the bottom of the ball sack of a whale out in the Indian Ocean, and then probably Gutex. That's probably, like, the order of importance for me. Like, I don't care about this guy. Why the fuck does he follow my Twitter and tweet me negatively nasty shit? So that year, I actually remember I tweeted him back. I said, oh, well, Merry Christmas. Like, I just looked at it. I was like, well, Merry Christmas. Because it was Christmas time. And it's like, this guy's tweeting me, like, negative shit. So that's, like, the last interaction that I've had with this guy. All right? Like, and that's it. So the PogChamp emote was removed today, which is Gutex face going, oh, whatever, globally on Twitch because of the horrible things happening in Washington, D.C. And apparently he's tweeting out things in support of these Trump supporters in Washington, D.C. I think he made a tweet showing a video of a woman getting shot in the head, and it said MAGA martyr or something like that. Fucked up stuff. It's things that you should not be doing that. All right, it's one thing even if you politically support that, you're not tweeting out those fucking videos. Fucking disgusting shit. I don't know about this guy. I don't know anything about him, but he's canceled basically. Like right now, Twitch literally saw that and was flooded with a million complaints about it, and they said, "Oh shit," and they removed his emote from Twitch and said, "We can't have that on Twitch anymore. Like we can't in the right mind can't have that on Twitch anymore when the guy who we have as a global emote is saying, you know, supporting this Trump mob who attacked the Capitol today." So, what a fucked up situation. But, you know, it's just another, like I said, it's just another case of another one bites the dust. Some guy who had a bug up his ass about me over the years. I don't know why he ever had a bug up his ass about me. I really don't. I genuinely have no idea why the guy hated me or shat on me over the years in things he said. Whenever someone asked him about me, he's tweeting me negative shit. Again, last thing on earth I'm thinking about is Gutex, and he's coming after me every once in a while. I don't know why. Okay. So, you tell me. But another one that got ethered today. Finger snapped. Oh well. Anyway, let me put this in the closet.
And this once again shows the hypocrisy that lies within Phil's character. He will always wait for the moment where someone he doesn't like will finally hit rock bottom, and he'll swoop in to gloat and make fun of their situation. But if someone does the same thing to him, then suddenly it's the end of the fucking world, right? Everybody's just being mean to him, and they don't want Phil to succeed because it's easy to pick on him for mistakes that he'll never admit to. It's all just a bunch of bullshit. This also highlights another interesting thing about DSP. This nigga has the memory of a goldfish when it comes to things that put him in a negative light, or he simply just doesn't care to mention it. Yet when it comes to this internet drama with other content creators, he will remember every single minute detail about the shit they said about him, regardless of how long it's been. And you gotta remember, this is all coming from the guy whose whole persona is being this beacon of positivity, and tries to keep everything about his streams drama free. But man, I guess all of that chill positivity goes down the drain once the opportunity of payback presents itself. And speaking about revisiting the past, to close this episode of A Beggar's Journey out, we got a fantastic rant from DSP, trying to desperately cling on to the idea that his 4th place at Evo is valid, and they could still play at top level in Street Fighter. This was around the time where Phil was playing the old school Street Fighter collection every Friday night, and during those streams, he would more than often get his ass handed to him by players such as Jose and Goji Tinks. Phil really likes to hold on and cherish this top 8 accomplishment, and surprisingly, it's pretty understandable, because once you take a second to look back at Phil's early history, Street Fighter 2 Turbo was the only thing he had. He, without a doubt, loved that game. He had spent a lot of time and money learning everything he possibly could about the tactics and strategies to prove to himself and others that he was good at fighting games. His 4th place achievement is the only thing he could look back upon and tell himself that he was a professional level gamer. Nothing will ever come close to the admiration Phil had for this game.
I know that there's one last game that I will never lose my skills in. Alright, Super Turbo. There's no way I can forget how to play this game. Let's do it.
Yeah, Phil, you're a tournament winner. This is going to be a great match.
So when people are telling him that his 4th place at Evo wasn't a true representation of his skill level due to the port that was used, this will of course affect his fragile ego.
Okay. The Man of Orange tipped me $2, said, is it usual criticism that your win at Evo was not authentic because it was a Neo Geo port valid or stupid? It wasn't a Neo Geo port. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Super Turbo I don't think was ever even on Neo Geo because Neo Geo is an SNK console. Why would a Capcom game be on it? No. The port was a PS1 port. And at the time, it was the only mainstream console version outside of Dreamcast, but they didn't want to use Dreamcast because they felt that the Dreamcast was the no reliable console at the time. No, they used the PS1 version, and was it illegitimate? No. What it was different. It had different things to it that if you practiced it, you would have learned the differences. That's exactly what I did. Everyone was complaining, we want arcade. I complained that year, too, that I wanted arcade. I publicly said on srk.com, shoryuken.com, I think that it should be arcade version. But Evo outright denied it and said over and over, no, we're doing PS1 version. Everyone said, well, that's fucking stupid. I agreed. And I said, but you know what? Instead of sitting here and bitching, I'm going to actually play that version and learn it and then play it in the tournament. So I did. I played the shit out of that version both at home and then when I went to the tournament for like 2-3 straight days, I just practiced the PS1 version. So when I actually got to the competitive play, I knew the differences. I knew Vega was even better. I knew Chun-Li was even better. And I also knew that certain characters like Balrog and Old Sagat were not as good in that version. So I played those characters like Vega and did insanely well. While other people didn't practice, just sat there and whined and didn't enter at all, or just complained and never practiced, and they all lost. So if you say that's unfair or it's not legit, I mean, they announced way ahead of time, this is the version that's going to be at EVO. Yes, people complained, but you had plenty of time to practice that version. You know what I mean? That would be like saying, okay, we're going to have an NBA 2K tournament, but we're playing the Xbox version at the tournament. But you scream and complain, well, the PlayStation version is the official version, it's the better version, but the tournament says, well, we're playing on an Xbox. So you don't practice the Xbox version, you don't realize maybe the timing's a little different, or there's some slight nuance that's different, then you go and play in the tournament and lose and you complain about it. Oh, it's illegitimate. It's like, but you knew you were entering an Xbox tournament. So why did you not prepare for it? That's exactly what happened at that tournament. You can argue and say that's not legit. Okay, then why is it that for the entire next 2 to 3 years, every Super Turbo tournament I entered, whether it was the PlayStation 2 version, the Anniversary Edition collection that came out, there was like 2 or 3 other versions that every tournament just kept deciding to adopt a new one. Why was I placing at every tournament after that? It wasn't like, oh, it was a flash in the pan fluke that Phil once placed at EVO and that was it. I went ahead and for the next 2 to 3 years was dominating the tournament circuit in Super Turbo everywhere I went. There was one year, the year after that, it actually was, I qualified at so many qualifiers for EVO that they had to eliminate some of the qualifications that I had and give it to other people. I went all around the country qualifying for EVO, and I had like 5 qualifying spots for the fucking finals to get seeds, so they gave away 4 of my spots to other people who had placed under me. But this is what I mean. People want to ignore all that and say, oh, because Phil played a PS1 version, it's illegitimate. Well, no. I played a PS1 version. I played Anniversary Edition. I played the other PS2 version of the game that came out after that. And by the way, I also placed on arcade cabinet tournaments all within a 3-year span. And no one said shit then, but now all of a sudden, let's erase that because we're a bunch of fucking idiots trying to have an agenda instead of looking at the facts. So these people can just go fuck themselves. These are not competitive players who are criticizing my placings. People who were around back then at the time and played against me admitted I was good. Go ask the people I was playing against from the years of 2005 through like 2008 if Phil's good at Super Turbo, and they'll tell you yes. No one's going to say no. Everyone knew it. Top players from all around the country wanted to play me because they knew I was good, and it was a good thing to play the best, to get the best competition in, and to learn the best strategies. It's just dumb shit that idiots make up. Okay. Snake. I can't even speak English anymore. Snakyfish Gaming was asking me, do I feel that if I went and I actually played some pros in this game right now, and I guess he's talking about Super Turbo, do you think I would still be able to hang and be good, or would I be, like, not doing as well because, you know, I'm rusty and I've only been playing this collection? Let me put it this way. At first, I might be rusty, but honestly, for me, like, all the time that I kind of go to play higher-level people, I can usually, either remember stuff that I've forgotten pretty relatively quickly, or I can adapt right away. I'm a very adaptable player, where, like, I'll see people doing a strategy or whatever, and I'll say, okay, wait a minute, let me think about this. I'll try a new strategy, and the next thing you know, I'll be able to, like, adapt around it. That's a good thing about me, is I feel like when I play, that's how, honestly, I ended up performing so well with as little practice as I got in at the tournaments that I went to, because everyone else was constantly practicing at arcades, going over people's houses, going to a million tournaments a year, and I couldn't do that. I had a job, I had a life, I didn't have the ability to play and travel and practice as much as most of the competitive players, but I was able to adapt a lot on the fly. So undoubtedly, if I were to play pros right now, I'd probably get bodied for a while, And then eventually, after playing maybe a few hours, I'd be able to adapt and start to do better.
Everyone knows that Phil will legit get his ass kicked if he ever went to a major offline tournament. And yes, I do mean that in both ways. While he is pretty decent at the current Street Fighter, whenever he's matched up against top level players in the community, it always ends with him looking at the defeat screen. DSP doesn't go anywhere besides the grocery store, and maybe a couple of fast food places every once in a while. He doesn't practice any of these games offline, so for him to suggest that he can hang with the pros after warming up is ludicrous. DSP will never attend another EVO again, so he's gonna hang on to these delusions no matter what. In his mind, he'll always be the top US Street Fighter 2 player, but at the same time he has to remember that 4th place is just that. He hasn't won anything that's really worth bragging about. So if being great at one single fighting game is so important that he has to go on this big tirade to defend his placement in the tournament, then fine, I'll let him have it. But it's sort of crazy that in this 15-year legacy he likes to boast about online, that this is the only thing he's ever done to make himself feel like he was somebody. There's really nothing else Phil has done within this 15-year legacy that can be considered successful by any standards, besides the fact that he simply refuses to go away.